When we think of mafia scandals, names like Al Capone, John Gotti, and the Gambino family usually come to mind. But what if we told you there's a mafia scandal so dark, so shrouded in secrecy, that it barely made headlines despite its shocking nature? Buckle up, because this one's about the Pharaoh's Club, the mafia-connected operation that was so deeply embedded in New York's elite circles, it flew under the radar for years. The mysterious Pharaoh's Club, Mafia's hidden playground in NYC. The Pharaoh's Club sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller or maybe a secret society novel, right? But in reality, it was an ultra-exclusive New York City club where the city's most powerful elite came to play. You'd see celebrities, politicians, businessmen, basically anyone who mattered, mingling in an atmosphere that screamed wealth and sophistication. On the surface, the Pharaoh's Club was a symbol of luxury, an oasis for the rich to sip champagne and network. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find a much darker, hidden world. This wasn't just a swanky venue for cocktails and high society chatter. No, behind those velvet ropes and polished marble floors was something far more sinister. It turns out that the Pharaoh's Club had deep ties to organized crime, and what was going on inside its walls was a far cry from the glitzy image it projected. Now, we're not just talking about the usual mafia business, gambling, prostitution, or drug trafficking. No, this scandal went way beyond that. This was a criminal enterprise that was intricately woven into the fabric of New York's most influential circles. It was a front for a much bigger operation, one that managed to stay hidden in plain sight for years. A high society hideout for the mafia. So, what was it that made the Pharaoh's Club so special in the criminal underworld? For starters, this was a place where the mafia could operate without raising any suspicion. The club catered to the city's most powerful figures, people who were either too rich, too influential, or too connected to ever be questioned. It made the perfect front for the mafia to launder money, run illicit businesses, and maintain control over large swaths of the city's elite. Here's the thing about organized crime: it thrives in secrecy. And the Pharaoh's Club gave the mafia that secrecy, with its exclusive doors that only opened for the right people. For the members, the club wasn't just a place to relax. It was a place to cement power and influence. If you were someone important, the Pharaoh's Club was where you went to make things happen, whether those things were legal or not. But what was really going down inside? Well, it turns out that this wasn't just a haven for mafia bosses. It was a place where deals were made, schemes were plotted, and illegal activities were conducted under the radar. The club was embroiled in a number of rackets, including extortion, illegal gambling, and money laundering. Mafia families, including the Genovese and Colombo crime families, used the club as a front to hide their operations from the public eye. But that wasn't all. The Pharaoh's Club became a networking hub for criminals to make connections with high-profile businessmen, corrupt politicians, and even law enforcement officials who were on their payroll. The dark secrets behind closed doors. If you thought the glitzy parties and the fine wine were the only things happening at the Pharaoh's Club, think again. Behind those closed doors was a whole other world, one where mafia figures worked alongside some of the city's most powerful and influential players. Members of the club weren't just mingling over cocktails. They were actively involved in a web of corruption that stretched across multiple sectors. Law enforcement wasn't blind to what was happening, but the club's elite membership made it difficult to get any solid leads. After all, when the mafia is shaking hands with the people who are supposed to be watching them, how do you even begin to untangle that mess? For years, the club's true nature remained hidden, as the mafia continued to use it as their playground. The ties that bind: mafia, money, and power, inside the Pharaoh's Club. So, how exactly did the mafia worm its way into a high society club like the Pharaoh's Club? Well, it's simple when you think about it. The Mafia has always been about one thing: control. And what better way to control the game than by infiltrating the upper echelons of society? But beneath all the glitz and glamour, something far darker was going on. This was no mere gathering of the social elite. It was a front for some of the most powerful mafia families in New York. Mafia meets high society. The Pharaoh's Club became a sanctuary for the most influential people in New York. Think about it. Top-tier businessmen, influential politicians, and powerful members of law enforcement, all mingling in one place. It wasn't just about rubbing elbows with the city's elite. Members of the Mafia had access to the very people who shape New York's laws and policies. In many ways, this made them untouchable. They had connections that ensured their rackets, whether it was money laundering, drug trafficking, or extortion, could go on without much interference. After all, when you have people in key positions of power, it's easier to dodge the law, right? A web of corruption. So, what was going on behind the scenes? The Pharaoh's Club turned into a true hub for backdoor deals and corrupt exchanges. Mafia members weren't just meeting with other criminals, they were sitting down with the city's most powerful officials, creating a system where everyone could benefit. This wasn't a simple partnership, it was a carefully orchestrated web of corruption. Let's talk about how the Mafia used the club to keep its operations running smoothly. One of the key benefits? The ability to dodge taxes. Mafia families, as we know, make millions off illegal activities, but those millions aren't always in the form of clean money. The Pharaoh's Club became the perfect cover for money laundering, helping them move dirty money into the mainstream economy. But that wasn't all. The club also became a place where Mafia members could gain immunity from prosecution. The power of political influence meant that Mafia figures could keep law enforcement at bay. The Mafia didn't just run criminal operations, they ran the city's social and political life. If you weren't on their side, you could easily find yourself on the other end of a criminal conspiracy. The illusion of untouchability. As investigations into the Pharaoh's Club started to heat up, it became clear just how untouchable the Mafia had made themselves. The reality was that even those tasked with keeping the city safe were compromised, so deeply embedded in the Mafia's operations that they couldn't or wouldn't bring them down. It wasn't until the cracks in this system began to widen that the true scale of the corruption came to light. In the end, the Pharaoh's Club wasn't just a playground for the rich and powerful. It was a symbol of how deeply organized crime could infiltrate the systems that were supposed to protect the public. A scandalous fall. As you might expect, the more power the Pharaoh's Club amassed, the more dangerous it became. The Mafia's influence was so strong that the club was able to operate without much interference for years. But, as with all good things, the story eventually came to a crashing halt. In the late 90s, law enforcement finally started paying attention to the Pharaoh's Club. It wasn't an easy case to crack. The Mafia was notorious for its ability to cover its tracks and use its political connections to protect itself. But the FBI wasn't about to let the Pharaoh's Club escape justice. What followed was a years-long investigation that exposed the extent of the club's Mafia connections. The club itself shut down shortly after the scandal broke, and the entire operation was dismantled. The legacy of the Pharaoh's Club. The Pharaoh's Club scandal might not be as widely known as some of the bigger Mafia busts, but it serves as a stark reminder of how deeply organized crime can infiltrate society. This wasn't just about some criminals running an underground racket. This was about how the Mafia used wealth, power, and influence to extend its reach into the very fabric of New York's elite circles. And for those involved, the legacy of the Pharaoh's Club remains a powerful reminder of how deeply organized crime can affect all levels of society. Thanks for watching. please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comment section.